Right, boys and girls, welcome back to the UnRidled podcast. I'm here today with probably one of, if not my best friend I've met through fighting, George Herbert. I met him around 4 years ago at Mike Egan's gym. I'm going to talk loads of stuff today, so I'm just going to introduce George. How's it going, mate? You okay?
All good, mate, yeah. Not fucked off that beat he's just given me there in the gym, first one for a while, but it's good to get a sweat on.
Yeah, good little boxing and wrestling session we had there, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so straight away I just want to talk about how you got into fighting and martial arts. Obviously, you're known as a boxer, aren't you? But I know you've done different martial arts as well, so just tell me a bit about
that. So, growing up I'd always watched a lot of boxing. Was always interested in the martial arts channels like, Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, all that, Jackie Chan as well, that kind of shit. I used to watch it with my dad. So literally all throughout school I'd always loved fighting and things like that, but it wasn't till I was about, I don't know, probably 18, 19 that I actually first took it upon myself to go and do some training. I think when I first ever started I was doing a bit with PMA and Llanfairpwllgwyngyllgogerychwraig, doing a bit of kickboxing, bit of jiu-jitsu, probably did that for about a year.
With Leah, yeah?
With Leah, yeah. Probably did that for about a year, sacked that off for a bit, and then I remember I went away to Portugal for a couple of weeks. Now, when I was away, I said when I get back I'm really going to get into it properly, because I'd always wanted to do it seriously, competitively. I always knew that I was going to be able to fight. It was just a case of learning how to conduct myself properly in the ring, things like that. I knew I had it in me. I was game enough.
Yeah, that's something I'll say as well. Earlier on in your fights, you always had the aggression and the intent, and as you progressed, your technical ability caught up with your other attributes in the ring. So, yeah. You first came into my knowledge through lads from your town that are around my age, like Lewis Carlisle had mentioned you to me, and Charlie Rayner had also mentioned you to me, and I'd seen you at Richie Dixon's class, but like I say, I didn't really meet you until Mike's, did I?
Yeah.
And I met you around the time of your first fight. I think you fought one lad in D-side, and then you fought on Market Mayhem a week later?
Yeah, a week later, yeah. So yeah, when I went to Portugal, I decided when I get back, I'm definitely gonna start training, and that's when I decided to go to Mike's gym. I probably wasn't training there that long at Mike's for my first fight, really, was it? I don't know, maybe a couple of months. I know we had a little sparring session, didn't we?
Yeah. That's how it came about, wasn't it? I walked in the gym, and obviously you'd had your first fight.
Oh, was it after my first fight?
It was after your first fight. It was in between the two fights, and okay. Mike had been saying to me, come down to the gym, I've got some lads your weight. And as soon as I walked in, he was like, "Oh, Ethan, you and George are sparring at the end. I want to see a midget fight." And from then on, we just kind of clicked, really, didn't we?
Yeah, because we were putting on each other a little bit that day as well.
Yeah. I remember doing all right at the start, and then towards the end, you were just bopping me around, like.
Yeah, so that was after my first fight, was it? Yeah.
And you got a knockout in your first fight, didn't you?
Yeah, so do you know what, for some reason, before that first fight, I remember Mike and Victor were saying how calm I was, but for some reason, I just literally knew I was going to knock this guy out. I don't know, but... Do you know what, I'd fought Wes before that, thinking about it.
Oh shit, when you were with Jamie Edmonds. So tell me about Jamie and the time between being with like Leah.
I was floating about a bit, wasn't I? So
yeah.
I'd done a bit of Leah, and then I sacked it off for a bit, and then I think I actually started boxing with Jamie in his gym in Bangor. I knew Jamie from school. I seen that he had the gym. I was going down with a mate of mine, Callum. So we did a bit of boxing there after only being there for a few months. Because I was always confident, but I think I was a bit overconfident. Wes Simpson, I think he was like 5-0 at the time.
Yeah. And a lot heavier than you.
Yeah, knocked about 5 lads out. And anyway, he was actually fighting on Mike's show, and I was going to go and watch. The next thing, his opponent had pulled out or something, and I was pecking Jamie's head saying, let me fight him. And I think he was saying, oh, there's a big weight difference, a lot of experience. But me, because I was so deluded, didn't understand about weights, I was like 7 kilo or whatever it was, doesn't matter.
You just wanted to get in there, didn't you?
Yeah, so I got pasted by Wes in that fight anyway, but that was a good scrap.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going to Mike's not that long after, and that's where I first started fighting regularly, taking it more serious, training properly. I think I had about 8 fights for Mike in 12 months, and it was I think I was like 4 knockouts, 8 wins out of 8, something like that. I was like fighting all the time, training constantly in the gym, and that's where my actual boxing ability started to come together. Do you know what I mean? I was training a lot, and like I said, I was always game. Even in school, I liked fighting, things like that. So I knew the mental aspect and being game enough. I think, to be honest, with fighting, as long as you've got the raw attributes and you're willing to get amongst it and fucking scrap with someone, because that's what it is. Like, you literally man to man, no one there. It's just you're going to fight each other. If you've got it about it to do that, I think anyone can learn to be a good fighter with enough dedication to learning the art, the craft, increasing your fight IQ, blah blah blah, learning all the technical aspects, understand how to read a fight and all that.
Two very important aspects to being a good fighter, especially for people like me and you who started a little bit later on, is first of all having an athletic background. I played a lot of football, rugby growing up, and I know you played a lot of football as well. And like you say, you were into fighting when you were younger. Like, you might have had quite a lot of street fights or fights in school and stuff like that. And that toughness carries on in the ring, because a lot of people that will start and they've never had fights before, they look awkward, or like, they can't take a punch as well in the ring and stuff like that. So I think athletic ability and being a tough kid from the estate really does fucking bring you on as well, doesn't it?
I didn't even necessarily win a lot of street fights. Like, I had times where I just got slapped about, but
I
think
it's
you
will be in the smaller man,
willingness to fight, and just having it's fight or flight, I suppose. You either got it or you haven't, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think if you're someone that's going to stand and fight, if you're being taught how to actually apply it logically by a mentor, by a proper coach, I think anybody that's got that natural ability, as opposed to running from a fight, to stand and face, I think anyone that's built that way can learn to be a good fighter, to be honest.
To live in that survival mode, if that makes sense.
As long as you're gonna dedicate yourself to it, then I think anyone can learn to fight.
Yeah, and like when we were just wrestling, then I was saying to you, wasn't I, like, a lot of fight IQ is to do with just knowing basic mechanics of your body and things like that, knowing where to distribute weight and knowing where people's balances and stuff like that.
And I don't mean like anyone can be the next John Jones, but I mean, people, if you're game and if you're willing to learn, you can, you can do better than. Because I think I was wanted to fight for years, and I always taught myself. Like, I remember even literally seeing like the group, say the generation before me, almost in Immortals, like it was like Lee Blund or Ryan Mack, Brain. When the Bam Bam, all of the Mad Belts, Jake Cordell, and I'd be like, oh fuck, I bet they're all well hard. Like, I'd love to go and train with them, but I bet it's well intimidating. I bet they're fucking well hard and all that kind of shit. So I literally put myself off going for like years. I should have started earlier. And like I said, when I went to Portugal, had some experience and stuff, then I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna like go for it. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that a little bit later on. But I had a bit more of a fearless attitude after being there. So anyway, I was like, oh fuck it, like I'm literally just gonna do it. I remember literally writing a list of things I wanted to do when I got home, and one of them was like, start doing. Start fighting properly, training regularly, and I wanted to compete and fight and just fucking get amongst it, mate, to be honest. And you definitely did that, didn't you? Yeah. You were very, very active boxer. You were sometimes fighting twice in a fortnight and things like that. You were really active, and you were, like you say, putting kids out as well. Moving on from that, we spoke briefly about you playing football when you were younger, and you were quite at a fairly decent level, weren't you? So tell me a bit about that. So I was playing footy. I was obsessed with footy when I was a little. Played for a lot of obviously the local teams and the county teams and things like that. And then when I went to Llandrillo College, I ended up playing for the Wales Colleges team as well. I played for Bangor City. Just some of the better local teams. Obviously, I was never like a prospect of being pro. Yeah, I was never like going to be a professional, but I played for some good sides and things like that. And I was well into it until I was 18. I played for Bangor first team. When I was 18, been in the squad quite a few times, but was kind of just on the brink of trying to get into the first team at Bangor. But then I stopped. To be honest, I stopped playing football properly around about 18, 19, maybe 20. Did you lose the passion when you knew that you weren't going to make it? Pretty much, yeah. Like, it's not that I necessarily thought I was going to, but when as you get, it's other things as well, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? When you get old, you just find other things, mate. Like, I went away to uni as well when I was 18. Started drinking, just all. You found all the usual what alcohol and girls exist, pretty much. Shit, mate. All that. That was the end of that, really. pretty much since then. I've played for teams here and there, like willy-nilly, you know.
Nothing committed, like?
No committal since then, really, to be honest.
So, yeah, sorry to cut across you, lad. Briefly, we did talk about you going to Portugal, and I want to expand on that a little bit because it's something that I'm really interested in doing in the future. And I know a lot of people are like, over the past couple of years, they're hearing about it, and they're saying like, oh, do you know about this, do you know about that? But obviously, people like me and you, especially yourself who's experienced it, is going to know a lot more about me, a lot more about the experience of it, etc., etc. What we're talking about is ayahuasca and psychedelic experiences, and I've had a couple of psychedelic experiences myself. Sorry to my family that are listening, I don't really care because, you know, it's a part of life at the end of the day. But obviously for yourself, you did ayahuasca, so tell me a little bit about
that. Okay, so actually when I went over there, so from the beginning basically, so I'd found out about ayahuasca through YouTube, basically just looking for very random shit on there.
And when was this?
I want to say about 8 years ago now, probably about 8 years ago. I came across ayahuasca, was just absolutely mind blown that a thing like that even existed. As soon as I heard about it, I was listening about a lot of testimonials on it. You know, people that experienced it, people that had been away to Peru and things like this and experienced it in the jungle, and how they were saying it was a life-changing thing, and you have these revelations and it changes your life. And I was thinking like, fuck me, like I need a bit of that, do you know what I mean? When I first heard about it, I was like mind blown. I hadn't heard about it before, and I was like, I need to do it, because I've always been someone who's like, I'd say quite a deep thinker, someone that's always wondering about, you know, some of the bigger questions in life. So,
you studied Buddhism quite intently when you were younger as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so, well, long story short, so I don't get sidetracked too much. My mum studied religious education a little bit later on. Once I was about 18, my mum was doing a religious education degree, so she had like all kinds of different religious books lying around the house, and I've always been a massive reader anyway since I was young. So I just started reading about all these different religions and things like that, just casual reading, because the books were everywhere.
And it's interesting as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's again going back to asking questions, reading, trying to expand your mind and all this kind of shit. So one that struck me the most was obviously Buddhism. I liked the fact that it wasn't talking about like, oh, the afterlife and this God and that God. It was more about dealing with things here and now, and
your way of living and stuff like that.
It was rather than like a set of beliefs. You didn't have to believe it. It was a way of life that you can understand and live now, and realise how it the teachings or the Dharma or whatever you want to call it, that you can understand, and once you're aware of them, you can see how it's actually, you know, how it works in life. How it works in life and how it's applicable, and how I can understand, like, oh right, this is because of this. Like, I'm having these thoughts, and it's directly because of this root cause and blah blah blah. And if I put an end to that, then it was going to stop this or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I was always into things like that. I came across ayahuasca. I started looking for retreats. I wanted to go to Peru originally, but obviously going to South America on my own, it was a bit of a hectic one. So
it's finding the right shaman and all things like that.
I came across a shaman who was a genuine Peruvian traditional shaman. He was an expert in like ayahuasca and a lot of other psychedelic medicines or plant medicines. And so basically it turns out me and 16 other people, we all flew to Portugal together. Not people I knew, it was 16 random people. Went to a villa in Portugal in the middle of nowhere. The shaman come from Peru to meet us with like 2 facilitators that were translating, because he didn't speak English. These 2 Russian guys that had met him in Peru, they could speak Spanish and English. Obviously they were the go-between. Spent a week there. I did ayahuasca twice. I did San Pedro, which is a very, very psychedelic drug also. I did rapé, cambo. A lot of psychedelic things were going on that week, to be honest. But yeah, so I did all that. What do you want me to just talk you through the ayahuasca process? Like, as it happened,
if you would like.
Okay, so when it came to the ayahuasca,
little cheeky swig there.
we did two ayahuasca ceremonies. So we went into the room. It was pitch black. Obviously, we did it in the evening time. Pitch black room. We all had a sick bucket. We all had our water. We all had a blanket. We sat round. We did a meditation for about half an hour, just in our own little meditation.
It wasn't guided or anything like that.
Yeah, it was like an unguided meditation. So basically what it is to get us into like more of a subtle headspace and kind of have a real think about what it is that we wanted to take from the experience. And obviously everyone's there for their own reasons. People from all different parts of the world had come together with their own purpose, their own hopes and expectations. So yeah, about 30 minutes after sitting there in pitch black silence, so basically he was going around the room we were sat in a circle, we'd go up one at a time to the shaman and we'd drink this cup of ayahuasca, and it was just, the taste, it's just undescribable. It was not a nice drink. It was like kind of thick, and it's like, I can't explain the taste. It's like nothing you'd have ever tasted, obviously. It's like just disgusting drink. So yeah, I did the first cup, went back, sat in my space, and then it was probably about half an hour, 45 minutes after that, that's when it really started to kick in. And for those that don't know, ayahuasca, obviously it contains DMT. It's like the most potent psychedelic substance known to man. So as you can imagine, it's pretty fucking trippy. And
our body produces it.
Yeah. So the very first intense experience I had was, I kind of opened my eyes and looked up to where the ceiling should have been. Obviously it was pitch black anyway, I couldn't see anything, but instead of seeing the roof, it was just like, I could literally see every single star, every single planet. Like, I could see the whole galaxy.
The universe.
I could literally see it clear as day, the whole galaxy, every single fucking star. And I was, obviously at this point, because it's so intense, the trip, you can't distinguish between the trip and your physical reality sat 3D. In that room. Yeah, so it's like, as far as I was concerned, I was just looking at the whole galaxy. And I remember just taking in really big, intense breaths. And as I was breathing in, it was like I was hoovering every single star, every single planet, right into my own body. Like I was literally sucking the whole planet in, the whole galaxy in, and then blowing it all back out. And it was in, out, breathing it all in. And there was this voice just saying, you are the whole universe, that was what it was representing. Like, the whole universe was inside me, and I was blowing it back out, and I was one with the universe. It was really fun.
Do you feel that was for people that don't know, a lot of people on ayahuasca experience this female, I don't know how to describe it, I don't want to say entity, Mother Ayahuasca Gaia, as Mother Earth, as we say.
Not that particular one. A lot of people, because obviously when we were doing the... it's almost like a debrief the next day. If you wanted to talk about it, we could sit and talk about experiences. And a lot of people did talk about a female presence guiding them, but at that particular point, I didn't experience it. It was just more, ayahuasca was saying to me, because I was like, what am I? What is this experience of life? And it was just saying to me, obviously you're the universe. What else could you be? You can't come out of it and be something separate from it. You're literally a conscious point of
you are
attention,
it, and
experiencing itself, do you
yeah.
know what I mean? So that's what that represented to me. I was and it was saying, it wasn't mocking me, but it was obviously you're the universe. Well, literally, what else could you be?
Don't be so silly.
Yeah, obviously you're the universe. So so that was that. It was 8 hours of intense dripping. It's like trying to recall an 8-hour-long dream. Obviously, there's lots of things that you can't put a finger on, but what I will say is I experienced, so say you've got the whole spectrum of human emotion from, light, dark, and joy, and
hate to
happiness,
love, pretty
hate,
much,
everything, fear, anxiety, paranoia, jubilation, ecstasy, it was just a roller coaster of emotions, and I was experiencing so many different profound things. And for example, one of the really intense things I experienced was I remember I was obviously I could see myself lying on a bed, and there was intense bright light shining in my face. It was as if it was hospital lights shining in my eyes, kind of thing. And it was all people around me, and it was my family and my loved ones were around me. And I remember like a death on your death, well, the way it felt, it was I was on the way out.
Right,
do you know what I mean? It was more of a death situation. It's because I remember, because I didn't know at the time if I was tripping or saying it, but the next day people were saying that I was actually talking out loud, and I was saying I can sense that there's people there, but I just want to be on my own. So I was saying things like that out loud, obviously thinking there was people stood around me in a hospital, but it wasn't. I was just obviously lay on the floor.
Yeah.
So there was things like that, and obviously that was intense because I was feeling I'm gonna die, blah blah blah. And then there was other things, just there was a point where I was drowning in a pool of bloody water, and hands were coming through coming through the water, like trying to grab at me.
Yeah.
So you was going through some really intense dark things, but then as I like rode that wave and came through it came to like the point of like ecstasy where I'd be like...
You had to push through that.
Yeah, and to be honest, because whenever I've done psychedelics, whether it be mushrooms or even when I did the San Pedro, I always find that I have a nice come up. I'll go through like a really dark, intense, paranoid, anxious period, and then I'll come through it, and it's like...
You learn so much from them ones, though,
no,
don't
that's
you?
the thing. It's like this. I think with that's why I always say to you should do it, because people are like, oh fuck that, it sounds wild scary, and it is, but like growth's uncomfortable, mate.
Yeah,
what are you gonna do? Like,
I remember talking to one of my friends, a very good friend of mine, I'm not going to name who he is, but he used to say to me, or he said to me recently, because I like having a bad trip, and everyone looked at him like, what, you like having a bad trip?
Yeah.
And he goes, well yeah, because at the end of it you're like a new man. Do you know what I mean?
Mate, honestly, when I was going through the doc, I've done every single time I've done psychedelics, whether it was mushrooms or San Pedro, ayahuasca. Whenever I'm in a dark trip and I'm feeling really paranoid or really anxious or whatever, I'm like, fuck this, why do I even do this? But then by the time, the reason you're experiencing that feeling is because you're being faced head on, seeing in black and white your flaws, your insecurities, your fears, whereas
how you treat people.
Yeah, exactly. But you distract yourself in the real world, shall we call it the materialistic world, you distract yourself from it because you're playing your fucking Xbox.
You're in a routine.
Kim Kardashian's ass on the internet. You're looking at random shit that doesn't matter. Yeah?
Distractions.
And you're distracting yourself. But like when there's nowhere to hide and this curtain's pulled back and you have to look at your fucking self and really reflect on like, oh, do you know what, I'm an asshole, or I'm lazy, or I've wasted this time, or I shouldn't have done this, or
you got nowhere to motherfucking
you have to look at yourself, mate.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I was going through all that for a while, and when I came out the other side, it was, then it was like pure bliss, joy, ecstasy. Like, sounds weird, but there was one point where like, it was like I was looking at the world through the eyes of like a Chinese like style painting. Everything was like really pretty and quaint, and I was literally just like, I was just tiny little drop of water on like a leaf.
Right.
But I was just like like a really content, happy piece of water on a leaf. Like, just a mad shit like that.
You were just nature existing.
Yeah, like I was. Yeah, like I was just a different part of the cause of like existence.
Yeah.
But like,
you were experiencing it a different way. You weren't George Herbert, if that makes sense.
There were so many different things that I was... Okay, so like, for example, there was one where I was just really, really, really zoomed in on like a lampshade.
Yeah.
But so it's like I was looking at the lampshade through a microscope and I could just see all the most finest, intricate details of the stitching. There's the most random shit that you wouldn't think of on your own. And I was thinking like, wow, like so many things have happened for that stitching to be done.
So many people have had to be born for the person to make this.
I know it doesn't sound profound.
Yeah.
But like, this is just one example. Or like, I could see a fly. I could see if you see a fly flying around, it's just black. You think it was a black little fly. But I was looking at it, it's like so, I could see it so clearly. I could see all the different shades of colour on it.
Right.
And like, basically what I was seeing is like, even the most obscure, intricate, tiny little things are their own whole existence, and everything's significant. And it was just, it's so hard to like portray articulately in words, like the things that you experience when you're tripping. It's like explaining a dream. Do you know when you're trying to explain a dream, but it's so abstract and some of it's a little bit...
You can't remember bits.
Yeah, it's hard, but what I'll say... One thing, okay, so on the last day in Portugal, I specifically remember I stood on the top. It wasn't like standing on the roof, but it was like, what's it called when you're
looking down?
No, but like I was actually physically doing this.
Right, okay. You're on top of a building, you mean, on the rooftop?
What's it called? Like a broad in Spain, you're on the roof and it's like a balcony. Do you know what I mean? It's
balcony.
Like a no, but you know what I mean. It's like a chilling area on the roof.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So it's not just a roof like you'd have here. You actually chill on it, do you know what I mean, at the top. Anyway, and I remember, I was literally down there on the last day, and I remember thinking, like just one tear coming out my eye, and I remember thinking like, wow, do you know when I came here, I didn't even think that like I was unwell. I thought I was quite like a balanced, well-rounded, sound person.
As most people do.
Yeah, because you're deluded and you don't look, like I said, you're just distracting yourselves, like, you're watching shit on telly or you're doing this or that, you're wasting time being daft.
Everything's fine.
Yeah, but then I remember literally thinking like, wow, like I didn't understand how stressed I was. Didn't realise how anxious I was. I didn't realise how insecure I was, didn't realise how selfish I was, all these things. And like I remember
all your traumas from your past,
and I remember feeling like, oh, I'm healthy, I'm well, like I'm okay, and like I feel like I literally remember thinking like I could have done 100 years of therapy in that week, and it felt like my whole body felt like I could have just floated away. Like honestly, it was fucking intense, mate. This is where I'd like to do it again as well at some point, because obviously it's been about, when did I do that? It's
got to be about 4 or 5 years, isn't it?
Probably about 4 years ago now that I did it. And obviously, I remember one thing that Shaman said, was because obviously with the debrief we were all saying, like, oh yeah, we feel amazing, this is I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And this is when I wrote the list in, I'm going to get into fighting, I'm just going to do it, I'm going to be fearless, like nothing in the physical realm can
I hope you don't mind me
go
airing this to public, but there was one goal that you set, and you said to yourself, I'm going to do this within a certain amount of time, and you did it. So tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so quickly going back to what I was going to say, the Shaman was saying basically, you know, it's all well and good, everyone saying, yeah, I feel fucking great now because we're in Portugal, chilling in a nice villa. But it was like, when you go back into the real world and you have these distractions again, you have people bring negative energy bringing you down. It's like, that's the real ceremony. It was
that's
like,
the chaos that you have to break.
Yeah, like, this is where you have to translate this now into the real world. And I feel that over time, you kind of start getting a little bit. I think that it's the kind of thing, like, it doesn't last. Like, there's a quote saying about, like, people say motivation doesn't last, but neither does bathing. That's why you do it every day, kind of thing. But I feel it's almost the same with ayahuasca. Not that you want to be tripping every day, but every now and again you need that refresh. You need to
reset,
reset, wash yourself. So yeah, going back to the question you were saying, I got into. So I came back from Portugal. I was like, fuck this, I'm not wasting time. I was about 20. I was like, I should have started fighting years ago. I'm gonna do it now. I'm just gonna fucking push myself out my comfort zone. And when I first started training myself, I think it was because I was saying I wanted to have the Welsh title. Yeah, so because, like, again, I'd seen like Ryan Mack doing it, and like just other
Jamie
people.
Edwards.
Yeah, like a lot of people I knew had trained at Mike's, and they'd all done really well and things like that. So I was like fuck it, like I know for a fact I can do that. I fucking know it. Like, but again, negative self-talk out. So anyway, got back from Portugal. I was like, right, I'm just gonna fight all the time. I was training flat out. I was fighting like twice a week sometimes. Well, you know, consecutive
every
weekends.
Week,
was doing really well, and then obviously I think within about a year we fought for the title in Venue Cymru.
Well, you were 8-1 or 9-1, weren't you?
Well, yeah, I'd fought Wes, was a bit of a mismatch with the weight and the experience, the last minute fight. So obviously I lost that fight, and then when I started training with Mike, I think under Mike I was 8 or 9-0, something like that.
Well, let's do a little retrospective of how your fights went. I can kind of remember the names of some of your opponents. So the first guy, I can't remember his name. He had like a ponytail, didn't he? B-side.
Yeah, I remember Mike, because obviously, do you know, when, especially because I knew I was game, but because I hadn't actually won a fight at that point, I'd only had one with Wes and lost. And I was watching him, and it's at the time, because I didn't really know if I was going to be good, and I was watching him on YouTube a couple of times, and this one time he literally, like Nassim Hamid, literally like somersaulted into the ring, and I thought, I was like, who the fuck's this kid? He was the mamba and the somersault in his ring, and I was thinking, fuck, like, I was like, I can't let this guy beat me, you know. Then for some reason on the day I was so fucking. But the thing is, I was calm when I went to fight Wes. Like, everyone was saying like, oh, he's too big, he fucking hits hard, blah blah blah. But for some reason I was just really calm, really confident. Obviously I lost that fight in the end, just probably overconfident. But anyway, even still after losing that first fight, I was like, I fucking had this feeling like I'm just gonna knock this guy out. And I remember, and I think it was like the second round, like I knocked him out cold. The ref didn't even count. Like, the fucking medic was straight and just flattened him.
He was flat on his arse,
yeah,
wasn't he? He was flat on his back, like.
It's like, that was like, I mean, probably my first knockout. I think that's probably like the cleanest, coldest knockout. It was one of your
better ones, wasn't it?
Yeah, it just didn't move, mate. And which was obviously, I remember saying to Mike, I went back because the ref didn't count. The medic jumped in, and I went back to score, and I said to Mike, because they didn't do a 10 count, and obviously it was the first time I knocked someone out. So I was like, it's over. And Mike just looking at me and being like, yeah, like, he's knocked the fuck out.
Get your fucking hands in the air.
Yeah. He was like, yeah, it's fucking course. He can't look at me that, like, yeah, like, what do you think's gonna do? Like, so that was that. I fought a week later against, I think it was against someone from Matthew Thomas's gym, wasn't it?
Berwin something, wasn't it?
Fought him a week later.
You were just way too much for him, like.
Yeah, I think as he threw the towel in again, I think it was in the second round. He was actually, to be fair, he was actually doing right. He was quite a strong lad, and I just caught him with, I think it was like a left hook, and his nose just burst open, and as soon as that happened and I seen that blood, mate, I was just on him like a dog then, and I was just relentless. And
that's one of your best attributes. You can just fucking smell blood if you like.
Yeah, so then he threw the towel in, so that was my first 2 fights for Mike, both knockouts, one was a towel and one was a knockout.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Was it Jamie Davis after that? I feel like it was in Venue Cymru.
Was that when I was unfit and I was trying
The
to knock
talk-
him?
yeah.
Yeah, so that
First round, you were absolutely fantastic. Like,
Yeah, came out like Mike Tyson. Do you know what it was? I think for some reason I'd obviously been slacking before that fight, and I was a little bit.
smoking.
I think I was fighting 4 kilos heavier or something like that. I think
Yeah, it was like
big-
65,
yeah.
and you were used to 61, weren't you?
Yeah, so I was a bit heavier, but
And he was tall as fuck,
I was
mate.
unfit, and I think I'd underestimated him as well.
He's not bad either. I've seen him box before. He's decent, like.
I knew I was good. I knew I could beat him, but I
Yeah.
think because I was unfit, I tried to just. And as well as in venue coming, I sold quite a few tickets to my mates, and I know that like your mates just want to see violence and they want to see knock people out.
He plays
and
the
stuff,
crowd
don't they?
a little bit. And
Well, it's all, the thing is, you can have all the intentions like, because I'm always like, oh, I'm gonna fight a perfect fight. I'm gonna do it like nice technical. I'm gonna like, it's gonna be like painting a picture. I like technical. I do like technical boxing, but when I'm in there and you've had a hit or the crowd's going like I do just get a little bit like I want to knock this guy out.
Yeah. Like I say, you smell the blood sometimes, especially when you hurt someone.
Anyway,
like.
I was pasting him for the first round, and then I was fucked, mate. Yeah. Honestly, I remember saying to Mike after the first round when I had knocked out, I was like, I'm fucked, mate. And he was like, well, you know, basically, you know what Mike said, we fucking should have trained, you fat cunt.
Yeah.
And then, so the second and third round, he still wasn't getting the better of me, but he was starting to get a little bit sloppy. So anyway, that was a decision, won that one.
Yeah. And you did win that.
Yeah, no,
quite convincingly for
I
mine,
still won it,
like.
but just, you know what it's like when you watch yourself back, you're like, oh, fucking sloppy.
Yeah. It wasn't like it was sloppy. You just slowed down a little bit, and that was obviously
it was a very fast first round, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm trying to like knock his head off.
like you say, first fight.
But he was a bit heavier and a bit taller, and I think he could just take it a little bit better.
But what I was going to say, it was your first fight properly fighting in front of everyone, because obviously the first fight was in D-side. That's a trek from Penn, where you're from. Carnarvon, again, bit of a trek. Llandudno.
Everyone was there.
Everyone was there. You lived in Llandudno. Your family were from Penn. I think you did sell about 30 odd tickets, didn't you?
I can't remember which was the fourth fight. I know
the Southpaw from toe to toe.
Was that my fourth one?
That was your fourth fight, yeah.
Was it? Yeah. Jamie something.
No, that was Jamie. I think it was Callum.
Oh yeah, it was. I thought no, it was anyway.
That was a good fight.
Yeah, he was quite tidy. He was quite sticky. He was Southpaw. So it was the first time I fought a Southpaw. That was quite a good little fight.
Yeah, you were technically way better than him, but you're just a banger, aren't you? You just want to get stuck in there.
I think it was just overpowered him a bit. That was quite a good fight. And
it was.
So anyway, that was another decision, and then I had. That was it. I fought that lad in Liverpool, do you remember?
Yeah. Tell the story about that. So you had a pull out on the day, and what happened there?
Well, again, Mike, mate, he didn't say nothing to me. Did he? I was in the car. I remember being in the car on the way to Liverpool. And obviously, it was the first time I'd fought in Liverpool, and I was thinking, oh, who's this going to be? Like, it might be some fucking meathead.
Yeah.
So anyway, Mike said something like, oh, I've got some good news and some bad news. And I was already in the fucking car on the way at this point, so I didn't really have a choice today. And he was like, oh, you guys pulled out. I think it was supposed to be fighting like 60 kilos or something.
Yeah.
You guys pulled out, but if you do want to fight, the good news is there's someone else. No, he was my fifth fight, because I remember we were both 3-1. I can't remember the exact order.
Right, okay.
But we were both 3-1. Mike was like, there's this guy, but he's 66 kilos, so...
I swear it was a bit heavier than that, you know. I think it was about 68, no?
I don't know. He was heavier anyway, maybe like a stone heavier. Mike's like, and I was like, well, I'm going to fight him, fucking in the head frame for a fight. I'm already on the way. So anyway, that was probably one of my best performances, to be fair.
That was your best performance.
For some reason, I don't know why, but
you're just so confident in there.
Yeah, again, when I went in, I remember walking out, and I can't remember what tune, I think it was like 10 Crack Commandments, but as soon as I heard that song come on, mate, I was like, I'm a gangster, I'm going to fuck this guy up.
In the zone, like...
Yeah. So anyway, that was good. I think I dropped him about 3 times.
Yeah, you did.
And then the ref stopped that, and then the week after that, it was in Pwllheli. No, Cricketh.
Right, okay, yeah.
Because I remember the two times I fought back-to-back weekends, that was when all my knockouts were.
And from my memory, because I don't know why, I just remember this, it was around my birthday, so it was like March 2019.
That lad wasn't, to be fair, that was probably the easiest fight I'd had the week after.
Yeah.
It wasn't really shit.
It was experienced though, wasn't it?
He wasn't up to much, that guy, but I stopped him as well, so I think that was my 4 stoppages.
Yeah.
And then, who else I fought?
It wasn't Alan after that, was it? I think you had 1 or 2 more after that, no?
I can't remember, but then obviously I fought Alan Leighton, who keeps blagging me for a rematch. I said I was going to rematch. To be fair, I keep saying I'll rematch him loads, but then we had COVID.
Yeah.
And then I'm fat.
He looks a lot bigger now. I swear he's fighting on
looks a lot better,
Danny Dixon's show, and he's fighting a bit. Well, to be honest, mate, he's a bit too big for 61. I think so. Anyway, he's
Well,
tall and
yeah.
he's not.
I don't know if I was saying that I probably would still fight at 61. It's just a case of being motivated to get down there.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think that is my actual weight,
Yeah,
61. I
ideal
think it's even like my last fight most recently on Max Show, and I fought at 65. Like my belly was a bit soft and I was a bit unfit, and I was like 70 kilos a week before. Do you know what I mean? It's not like I was.
Let's move back to the later fight. So, obviously, originally I was saying about George's goal after he'd done ayahuasca, and it all came full circle, really. So, he'd had however many fights. I think it was 7. He was like 6-1 or 7-1, and Mike says, "I think it's time that you fight for a Welsh title. You deserve it." So, I'm going to speak to an organisation, and we'll get that sorted for you at 61 kilo. He was scheduled to fight a lad called Alan Layton from...
I think he was 11-0 at the time.
He was 11-0, and he was fighting at 61, but he was also fighting a little bit heavier as well, because he was the bigger man, and you could see it. And I remember George fighting, and he stepped on the scales at 59 kilo for a 61 fight.
Yeah.
And he stepped on the scales at 59, and Caroline, who was always around the gym, used to come in with these donuts on weighing day.
Is that when I was eating a donut?
Yeah. And he goes, "I'm going to step on the scale with a donut and chomp out when I'm on the scales." And yeah, like I say, a year into boxing where he'd had 7 or 8 fights, it had come full circle, and it was the Welsh title fight. Unfortunately, I wasn't there. I was fighting on FCC.
There, no.
I was on FCC the same day. But go on, I'll
I think I must have been 7-1.
Yeah.
I must have been 7-1 then. And Alan was 11-0, and it was a good fight, mate. I think, to be honest, if I we'll get back more into what my plans are in the future a little bit later on, but I think if I do go back into just boxing specifically, one of my next fights will definitely be against him, because I know we had a good scrap. It was a good fight. It was my first 5-rounder. He was a hard lad, mate. He was, I was slapping him and that, and he was just laughing in my face. There was a lot of shit talking going on.
I think the weight helped him, but then he is a tough kid as well. He's up for it.
To be honest, I know that when I'm catching him clean, I know for a fact it's hurting. I know that's why he's laughing, because he knows I've clocked him with a good shot. But
that's what they say, don't they?
Yeah,
but that left hook was there all night, mate.
I was catching him. And he was getting me. It was good. It was a good backwards and forwards scrap. 2 game guys. None of us were backing down. And the thing is, when I fight, a lot of the time, like I like to get in head and like to intimidate. You know what I'm like before the fight, trying to. Fight
in Liverpool, you were right in his head.
Yeah.
When we mentioned Jamie Davis in Venue Cymru as well, I remember you were biting your mouth guard in his face, and you looked shook, mate.
Well, I remember. So the fight of Alan. I remember Alan was obviously walking out first, and he was just behind the curtain about to go out. And I remember I was walking down with Terry, I think it was walking me down. I seen him, mate. And I was walking right towards him, and I just started howling like a wolf, mate. I was like, I'm gonna scare this guy. So I was like howling loud, mate. Like, this fucker's just acting weird. I thought,
getting all animalistic.
Let him think I'm a psychopath, like whatever. Like, fuck him, like, do you know what I mean? If he's a little bit timid, or if he's a little bit like wary going in, like, good. I want him to hesitate. I want him to, do you know what I mean? So anyway. But he didn't give a shit, mate. We were in there fighting.
He was right up for it,
we were talking shit to each other the whole fight. It was a good scrap, and we had a lot of respect for each other afterwards as well, because it was a good fight. But anyway, I got a decision on that one.
And rightly so.
Yeah,
rightly so.
I mean,
I know you were worried because he hit you with a shot and you kind of slipped in the first round, and I remember you slamming the ropes, thinking, "Fuck, it's a knockdown."
Do you know what it was? I knew that it wasn't a clean knockdown because I'd gone down. I didn't know how it was being perceived, but it didn't give it a 10 count anyway. So it didn't get called as a knockdown anyway.
You just thought in your head they might have seen that and given him the round or whatever. But
I mean, especially as the fight went on as well, like, I know that I was starting to take over the fight. But
rounds 3, 4 and 5, like I say, that left hook, you throw a shot and his hands were down and you just catch him every time.
That was the thing that was most effective in that. I was jabbing down, because he was taller, so I was jabbing down to the body a lot early on. And then in the later rounds, I was kind of catching the shots and countering. A lot of time, every time I was catching that body shot or catching the shot in the head, I was just countering that left hook. And he just obviously, he wasn't reading what was going on, like, and I was catching it, counter, catch it, counter. So that was working well. Because some of my mates saying, like, I'd never seen you get hit that much before, but I was like, yeah, but I was catching it and I was.
That's
countering.
what a lot of people that aren't boxing fans don't know, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, they'll be like, oh, he's hitting him. Yeah, but it's all on the gloves.
Yeah.
So
because I could see that, like, the power. I knew I wasn't going to knock him out after a couple of rounds. I was like, this guy's not getting knocked out here.
Do you know what, mate? When there's a heavier man, you have to be more tactical with it.
Yeah, and so anyway, the catching counter was working a lot anyway. I think that was where I scored a lot of my best shots. So yeah, that was that. I won that one. I think I only had one fight. So then we had COVID, all that shit. So
you talked about maybe going into MMA, things like that. But obviously you did fight on Ryan Mack's show. in a club outside in
That was 10 months
Glenconway.
ago now, isn't it? My last
August last year, yeah. That was a really good show, that. Enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, it was good fighting outside.
Yeah.
I did enjoy it. It was
I'd like to see an MMA show outside of North Wales. I'd love to see that. Maybe at a club.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yes.
But yeah, you fought a lad, Kieran Cumberbatch or something like that.
Kieran Kavanagh was.
Kieran Kavanagh, that was
Yeah.
it. I'm thinking of those two geezers, aren't I? Anyway, so you fought. You know what? He looked just like you.
Did you fuck, lad?
Yeah. You've both got that small, like that midget Irish ginger beard kind of look. And you look like twins in there, to be honest,
Come
lad.
on, man, he wasn't as handsome as me. You're taking a piss.
Right, okay, I'll give you that.
Come on, man.
But I remember you saying... I remember you saying that you wanted to work on different things in that fight.
Yeah.
And I remember watching the first like minute of the first round, and he was backing you up, and there was just a switch in you straight away, and you're like, fuck. And you just reverted to the old pushing back George Herbert style, do you know what I mean?
Again, no, do you know what it was? It's like I said, I love technical boxing. I love watching like Floyd Mayweather. I love the ring generalship, the counter punching, the being cute. But it's like when you've got fucking 3 2-minute rounds, mate. Like you haven't got the time to build your way into the fight and to read your opponent. You have to kind of just look like the aggressor sometimes to please the judges.
You can do it both as well.
I can, but I don't. I've never showed the first side. I don't think because I've never had the time. We've had 6, 7, 8 rounds, and great.
I'd love to see in a 6 rounder, mate. I think
I'd
a couple of fights to tune you up. I'd like to see you fight once or twice, then fight Alan Leighton, maybe in a 6 rounder. But if not, do a 6 rounder after that. Do you know what I mean?
Because I do like to read my opponent. I do like to suss out what the fuck's going on. But obviously,
when we spar, sorry to keep cutting across you. When we spar, first couple of rounds, I'm thinking, fucking hell, I'm doing all right here. And then you start turning it up in the 3rd and the 4th then, do you know what I mean?
I think I've got a good boxing IQ. I just don't think that I've had the time to demonstrate it so much. Because, like, again, if you haven't got time to lose 1 or 3, the first round out of 3, you haven't got time. You need to fucking win the rounds, like. So, and I can do it that way. If I have to, I can walk forward and just be like, next two takes a step back, I can do it. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, like you were saying, I went into that fight thinking I really want to box on the back foot. Because I'd seen, I think he'd had about 16 fights, so he'd had more fights than me. And you know he was game.
Yeah,
he was a good
fighter.
I was surprised. Yeah, I was surprised how technical he was as well. But I'd seen a little bit of him, and I thought, right, he's quite an aggressive, come forward guy. Like I can stand and bang with him, which I knew I was confident in doing anyway. But I thought I'm actually going to try and box smart, box nice on the outside.
Yeah. And you were coaching at the time, weren't you? Yeah. So like, you kind of wanted to show maybe what you were teaching in a fight, whereas just going not hell for leather, but.
Going back to being restricted by time, I think it was about a minute maybe into the first round, and I was boxing the back foot, and a couple of my counter punches, or I was trying to like a pull counter or whatever the fuck it might have been, and I was just out, missing it, and I was thinking, sure, I haven't got time to fuck around here. So I just literally, like you said, as soon as I thought that, I just started walking forward then, and after that I was like, it's my ring, like I'm staying in the centre, mate, and you're moving backwards while I'm walking towards you, do you know what I mean? And again, by the 3rd round, I think if it had gone 5 rounds, I think I could have stopped him. Yeah. Because by the end of the 3rd round, I was just like, I wasn't.
He was blowing as well.
I was just like walking towards him, hitting him, like, do you know what I mean?
And he did some good work throughout the fight, but
he caught me with some nice shots. Well, a couple of nice shots, but again, I think if it had gone 4, 5, I think I could have just started to take the piss, like. But
one thing I'll say, the difference between, obviously it was a long break between the 2 fights.
Yeah,
the big
like
difference.
2.5 years, 2 years was it maybe?
Something
2
like
years,
that.
Maybe.
Yeah, because it was August and September. You fought Alan in September 2019, and
it must have been 2 years. Yeah,
something like that. Anyway, the difference between the fight with Alan and your prior fights to the fight with Kieran outside was your movement. Your movement was so much better, like your footwork, your angles.
Oh, when I fought
when you fought outside, yeah.
Think so?
Oh my God, it was night and day. If you go and watch them 2 fights yourself, now obviously when it's yourself, you don't so much see the progression, but from me, who's seen your progression from your first couple of fights to then, it was night and day.
Yeah, I mean, I know everybody's better in the gym and it's easy to look slick in the gym or whatever, but I honestly feel like a fucking, because I've only had 10 fights still in boxing, and I feel like, again, going back to learning to be composed and also having only short time frame, I don't feel like I've shown anywhere near enough of my boxing IQ, boxing ability. I feel like people know that I can pressure fight and I can fight and blah blah blah, but I think think there's a lot more I could show as well, to be honest.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, which might as well move on to now, is I don't know how else I am about just solely boxing anymore, to be honest. That's why I'm saying if I do get back into boxing, I would like to fight Alan again. But
it's a good fight, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know, he's game, and like I was saying before, I mean, again, you know, anyone can look good in the gym, but because I've got him on Facebook and stuff like that, I think he looks technically better now as well.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, he looks like...
I think he switched up his training a little bit as well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I'm not too sure.
Somewhere else now,
I think so. I don't want to say he definitely is, but he might be.
You know, and he's always fucking tagging me and shit, you know, like, oh, let's fucking fight and all. So
fair play to him, he's trying to get the fight, isn't he?
Like I said, if I get the bug for it again, if I get back into it big time, then, you know, we can have it all day.
Yeah. Moving on though, like, sorry to cut across you, mate, but you just said then you may or may not get back to boxing. We spoke about MMA. You were scheduled to fight someone from Azzy's gym. COVID fucked that up. You were scheduled to fight on Almighty against a lad from Blackburn. COVID again fucked that up. And then obviously you went into coaching. So obviously we've spoke about you moving into MMA. Is that something that you may be looking at in the future?
Yeah. So even when I first started boxing, my plan was have a few boxing fights to get used to dealing with the pressure, adrenaline, fighting. And then once I've had a few fights, I'll go into MMA, because I was winning and I was fighting regularly. I just carried on doing that.
Yeah.
But obviously going forward, you know, I'm not like, oh, I want to be in the UFC or I want to be a professional. But I would love to have a fight where it's like there's no constraint. It's not just I can only use my hands. Like, I want to go at it. I want to be able to grapple someone, to ragdoll them on the floor. I want to be able to kick a motherfucker in the head, mate. I want to be able to wrestle, punch. You know what I mean?
And you can grapple. You can grapple. Like, I'm not saying you're fucking some black belt jiu-jitsu guy or some fucking college wrestler. I
think people that only know me from boxing would be like, oh, he thinks he can just go and do MMA, but it's like,
it's not like that. You started doing jits.
First of all, you have to, you know, I had my first boxing fight. Was my first boxing fight. You only get better by fucking doing it. And also for me at this point, it's just like, what's exciting? What's gonna make me train hard? I like learning. I like fucking learning, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's fun. Like, we were just doing round stretches, and then you're throwing me all over the place, but it's fucking fun, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, I like it. I like fucking. I actually enjoy grappling. Like, do you know what I mean?
It is fun. And like with boxing, like, not like it's boring, but you can get to a standstill, especially with like learning. You can get like not in a way like a creative block, and you think like, how am I progressing? And then also I spoke to Oshan the other day, didn't I? And I know we'd often spoke about you turning professional in boxing, and it's so hard to break that market and to really go far in it. But in MMA, that it is more open. You know, if you go on, like, say now you had 3 amateur fights and you were 1-2 or 2-1, and then you went on like a 6-fight winning streak and turned professional, there's eyes on you. People want to see you at professional.
This is another reason why I'd love to have some. Well, not for that reason, but. Do you know, like I always say to you, whenever I've been to watch you on shows in like Preston or Liverpool, like the amateur setup's fucking ace, mate. It's like professionals that aren't yet professional. Do you know what I mean? And it's like the setup's fucking sick, and when I watch it, I'm thinking like, mate, I want to get in there. I want to be in that octagon in front of people having a proper fight. It looks sick, mate. Do you know what I mean? And maybe I'd get knocked the fuck out straight away. But so what? Maybe I won't. Like,
I can't see it happening. But the thing, you know, like, you get in there and you fucking.
I respect MMA, mate. Like, there's 1,000 ways I could get choked out very quickly. Like, I'm not thinking I'm going to go in there and necessarily win, but I don't care. I want the experience of doing it, and I wanted to experience it a few times.
It's something you could definitely do, and I think you'd be quite successful at it as well, mate. You've got all the attributes to do it. It's just about applying yourself to MMA.
Do you know what? It's my commitment. It's just to get, obviously, just started getting back into the training again. Now my diet's a lot better. Now I've been back into the fasting and stuff like that. So hopefully the weight will start to come off me quite a while. But obviously, when I was fighting for Mike, I think definitely around 60 kilos is my most. You know, that's my weight. Like,
we spoke about moving down to 57 maybe for pro boxing or MMA, but I do think first few fights bantamweight would be 61 kilo would be perfect.
I'm top end of 70 kilos now, maybe even 80 on my. So obviously for a midget like myself, I'm a chunky little monkey.
It's not fighting weight for you, is it?
Absolutely not.
So it's something that we're looking at down the line, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's what I mean. It's not like I haven't even got a date in mind, but I'm going to just get back into training, enjoy the training, just get myself into a more physically healthy place. And then when I'm back down to 67, 66, we'll start putting a date on it, and then we'll you know, we'll fucking fight some people, mate. Get amongst it, smacks on the face in those little gloves, mate. I fucking can't wait.
Yeah. So keep your eyes peeled and watch out for George the Bullet Herbert, as I call him.
Where's that come from?
I don't know. I've always mentioned that as a nickname to you because you're fast, powerful, and strong, and that's a bullet, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's coming at you 200 miles an hour, hard and fast. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I always like that for you. Yeah. Gorgeous George as well, isn't it? Because obviously, anyone that doesn't know, I'm known as Turkish. Everyone knows me as Turk or Turkish. You're Gorgeous George, so we are the cast of Snatch. We are Snatch, aren't we, really?
Absolute jeffos. And we fucking love dogs as well.
Yeah.
So, something like that.
Yeah, you look like fucking Brad Pitt as well when he was playing that part. Not that you look like Brad Pitt, but when he was playing that part, do you like fucking dogs and all that?
Brad Pitt than fucking that guy I was fighting.
They're both fucking ginger and fucking beards and that, innit? So,
but yeah,
you know.
So the plan is, and again, do you know what? Yeah, it's not even like, because when I first got into the boxing, the fight, and I was like, this is going to be 100 mile out. I want to do boxing. It's not even like that with MMA. Like, it's not half-arsed, but I'm doing it for
enjoyment.
I'm doing it because it's a challenge, because it's exciting, because it's going to motivate. Like, I don't care if I'm 0-3. I don't give a shit if I'm 3-3. I don't care if it's 10-0. Like, that's what I want to do. That's the next stage of pushing myself and experiencing new things. I'm like, oh, I fucking did that, you know.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like,
you give it a go.
Yeah, like, I don't give a shit.
Whether you do well or not, which I think you will do well.
I've got.
It's not important, is it?
You know what I'm like, mate. By the time I'm going to fight someone, I don't care who it is. I'm going to think in my head, I'm going to win.
Yeah,
simple
exactly.
as that.
I know your mindset.
Yeah, I'm always.
You are unstoppable.
Yeah,
your mindset is unstoppable, isn't it?
I'm always going to believe I'm going to win, but like whether I do or not, only time's going to tell me. It's like, fucking hell, I'm Conor McGregor. Do you know what I mean? I might get spotted out, but I don't care.
Something I spoke to Oshan about, which we've spoke about in length, is like, you know, in boxing, if you lose that people don't want to touch you. Yeah. In MMA, you know, you could be fucking 10-5 and have the most exciting style in the world. Everyone wants to watch it. Wow, fucking hell, there you go.
Oliveira at the minute, what's he on the winning streak now, Oliveira?
It's something silly, isn't it?
He's beat a lot of good guys.
And that's what I mean.
And his
it's
record
the people he's beat, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's his record at one point was fucking hit and miss, wasn't it?
Yeah, at featherweight, because obviously he's at lightweight now. He's the champion.
You know what, mate? At the end of the day, like, it's fighting. It's fucking fighting. Like, anything can happen.
You have to be good for that 15 minutes that you're in the ring or the cage, isn't it?
Mate, like,
someone could be so much better than you or whatever. But if you're on point for that 15 minutes or however long you're in the ring for, then it's your night, innit?
You know what? Like, I'm genuinely like, I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen when I hit someone with a clean left hook in them little gloves.
Yeah.
Or just land a nice right hand. Like, I want, like, I think I am. Okay, do you know what? There'll be people that might out-grapple me, they might out-kick me, they might this, that and the other. And, you know, my aim isn't to just neglect the whole aspect of MMA, but, like, if I touch you with them little gloves, like, I want to see what's... Like, I think I can stop people, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can wrestle people too, mate.
100%.
You know
You can kick. You can. You've got a base in everything. Mate, you've fucking kicked a couple of my teeth out.
Shit. Yeah, that was
But yeah, I think we'll just wrap it up there, mate. Obviously, I was meant to go to Liverpool today and train and then do a podcast with some lads at Aspire. The trains got cancelled for the Merseyrail. It was a fucking nightmare. Me and George ended up doing some training and I thought, why don't we do a podcast? And it's ended up really well, hasn't it? I think you were a bit like, I can't be arsed really, weren't you? But then as soon as it's got flowing, it's been really fun, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been like 52 minutes.
Sick.
Couldn't even be asked talking today. So you've had the fucking last minute standing fucking treat today.
But it's been better than that, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Nice one for doing it though.
And we'll definitely do it again, mate, because I want to expand on the stuff we talked about.
Today, like, you know, because you mentioned it to me a few times, saying, you know, we'll obviously have an idea of what we're going to talk about, and I can not fucking script what I'm going to say, but, you know, so I'm not just chatting shit, going off on a tangent, but Dave just sprung it upon me. I didn't even want to do it, and you haven't let me go without doing it, have you? So
but it's been brilliant, hasn't it?
So here we are. But because I'm sure we've got fucking plenty of other shit. The amount of fucking conversations we have.
We could talk for hours and hours upon.
Yeah, let's get into some deep shit as well, some mad shit that we talk about.
Yeah, we broke in a little bit, didn't we? But that's just a little taste of what's to come, I think. But really enjoyed it, mate.
That's one of the things when we first met. Remember, we used to just bounce off each other so much because
I'd be like, have you heard about this guy? Do you know about Rupert Sheldrake? Do you know about fucking blah blah blah?
A lot of just a lot of beliefs about life that aren't necessarily that common, and you know, when you find someone that vibes with you on the same level about, because it's very against the grain, a lot of the things that we were into, and it's like,
well, this is what we planned to speak about today. We were going to speak about something that rhymes with no and vid, But we're not going to talk about that right now.
Fucking not today. Not today.
But we will get into that at some point. Maybe when we've got like a face camera and stuff like that, we'll talk about that properly so you can...
Fuck the government, though.
Absolutely. So yeah, we're just going to wrap it there, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. One thing I will say is follow George on social media. Tell him your social media handle, George, on Instagram and all that. Is it GHF Boxing, isn't it? Or GHF _boxing?
That was my business page, wasn't it? Which was GHF _boxing lab.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I'm going to do about a page at the minute, really. Obviously, I'm not working at the gym anymore, but maybe I'll just keep up to date with like when I get back in shape, put my fighting shit on there and stuff like that. So
I think that's a good idea. But anyway, if you want to check out any of the shit that George has done, have a look over there and stay tuned for more episodes, guys. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed everything.
Nice one. Peace out, brother.
Hope everyone enjoyed the episode. That was just us cracking the surface of our conversations, what we speak about. Obviously, we spoke about ayahuasca, and I know a lot of people are interested in that nowadays, hearing about that and hearing about what it can do for you. Me and George, as we spoke about, we when we first met, we would just literally bounce off each other. I'd be asking him all sorts of different questions about, like I say, ayahuasca and things like that, and like spirituality. And I know a lot of people, especially pre-COVID, would completely switch off whenever I'd bring something like that up. One of my neighbours, I could have a lot of deep talks with about it, but George was one of the first people I just felt I could really open up to about it and express myself and speak about things and not worry about what I was saying or think, like, I don't care now. I'm sure many people think I'm crazy, but at the time I was probably a bit more like anxious of people thinking, oh, he's nuts in, but I am nuts. Anyway, like I said before, I was going to have some lads from Aspire on, Ali Sahaki, Conor McKay and Sam Lynch. We will get to doing that sometime. They're all fighting this weekend on Budo. I would like to either do a video episode on them or go down to Aspire and do one in person. I could have went down there today to do the podcast. I could have just waited a little bit longer for the trains to pass, but I didn't want to just go there and do a podcast. I wanted to train as well, so I was a bit gutted about that, but it's all worked out quite nicely, really. I had George on the podcast, which I'd always planned to be my first guest, and we never got around to doing it, and obviously he's the second guest. But he'll 100% be back on. We'll go more in depth on what we spoke about today, and keep your eyes peeled for more episodes. I've got, like I said, the boys from Aspire on. I've got a local lad who's campaigning in the bare knuckle to raise awareness for ADHD and the mistreatment of kids who are being given drugs and being tested on pretty much with all kinds of different like amphetamine based drugs. So we're going to talk about his life experience. We're going to have a girl on who I've known from social media for quite a few years now. She used to sponsor me with the CBD, and then when the legislation with CBD became a bit of a grey area, she's moved on and she's now selling adaptogenic mushrooms. So I've taken a few, I've taken a few. I don't really know how to word it. I've taken a few and I've really liked the benefits of them, and I could probably like share with you what I know about it. But she's obviously a lot more knowledgeable in that area, so she's going to come on and speak to me about that. That's probably going to be like over Zoom, so you'll more than likely see that on YouTube. And then I've got a couple of other really exciting guests lined up, so just stay tuned, guys. Like I say, this is ever evolving and ever expanding, so if you're enjoying everything, just keep up to date, really, isn't it? I've started a Facebook page as well, UnRidled Podcast. Also, we're on Instagram as well now, just at UnRidled. So if you want to know when new episodes are coming out, etc., then, follow us on there. So that's everything, guys. Thanks very much for listening. I hope everyone enjoyed, and peace out.